Hello, I'm Deacon John Paul Kelly, a deacon for the Diocese of Dallas. I serve at Christ the King Parish in Dallas. Today I'm going to reflect on the readings for Monday of the second week of Easter season. Now there was a Pharisee named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews. He came to Jesus at night. And with that introduction from the third chapter of the Gospel of John, we first hear about Nicodemus, a man who most assuredly belonged to the highest governing body of Israel, the Sanhedrin. A man who in today's gospel takes a risk as he visits Jesus under the cover of darkness. A man who later will speak up publicly for Jesus, although indirectly. And a man who, even later in the gospel, makes his belief in Jesus even more public as he brings immense amounts of perfume to the burial place of Jesus. In Nicodemus, we see the transition that this gospel writer expects from all believers. The movement from darkness to light, from ignorance to truth, from death to life. Now it's significant that this gospel writer tells us that Nicodemus visits Jesus at night. For this gospel writer, night is the realm of darkness, of untruth, of evil. Nicodemus, like other Jews, was attracted to Jesus because of the great works he performed. In today's gospel, Nicodemus regards Jesus as just another great prophet, perhaps as great as Moses. But that belief, that understanding is inadequate. And so for this gospel writer, Nicodemus remains in the realm of darkness, of ignorance, the night. Now, nowhere in this gospel will we hear Nicodemus make a great profession of faith like Peter, "You are the Christ." But I like the story of Nicodemus. I like it because it's a story of an old man who has studied the scriptures all his life and believes that he understands the scriptures. A man who has earned the esteem of his fellow Jews, and a man who has risen to be a part of the highest governing body, the Sanhedrin. This man is the one who risked it all to live what he has come to believe. Today, we are in the midst of a pandemic which has inflicted suffering that is wide and deep. Many of us have sheltered in place and are fearful. Not unlike the disciples who huddled in the upper room after the crucifixion of Jesus. Fear is a byproduct of this pandemic. We are fearful because of the dislocations that this pandemic has brought. We are fearful because of the loss of our livelihood. We don't believe or we're fearful that we won't be able to pay the rent. We are fearful because we fear we may not be able to feed our families. We are fearful because of the loss of the companionship of others. We are fearful because we too may contract COVID-19. And for some of us, we are fearful of losing one of our loved ones. For we who are fearful, the story of Nicodemus is instructive. Jesus tells Nicodemus that he must be born from above, or in some translations, born again. Now, to be born again means to die to an old way of life and rise to a new way of life. That would be a risk for Nicodemus, a man who has lived a faithful life as a Jew, who has done all those things that I described before. It's a risk for us to believe that Jesus is the one who saves. And so our prayer today must be that the Holy Spirit will help us take that risk, will help us believe that Jesus is the one who saves, that the Holy Spirit will open us up to the new life that Jesus offers. And when this pandemic passes, and it will pass, we must ask the Holy Spirit to not allow us to accept too easily a return to our old way of living, but rather to open up new ways of living, new ways of loving that are offered by Jesus, and to expect from Jesus the relinquishment of that fear that has gripped us during this pandemic. That's the way it is for those who are born from above, who are born of the Spirit. Thank you.